brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. And now, finally, somebody with hair, Kainani Stevens.
Oh, we love that. Welcome into Jaguars Happy Hour. I'm filling in for JP Shadrick today. He's already jetted off to London without us. Jeff Lageman is here with us, as always, in the Hyundai Studios as we get ready for 2 games in London, and we're going to talk over whatever that is that we saw in week 3. Jeff, I haven't seen you since digested that yet.
I did. Yeah, I did. And I actually chose to watch the film Sunday night.
Oh, you just went for it.
I
You're
did.
like, I'm already down. I'm going to rewatch this.
Well, 2 reasons why.
Okay.
One is because of traveling to London
Fair.
today. Okay,
Trying to get ahead
you
of
want
it.
to make sure that everything's kind of behind you in your head a little bit. But also because I wanted to take the pain in one day.
Yes, just get it out of the way. That was a tough one. And I think everybody was kind of just, it was a snowball effect, right? Because it was one thing went wrong. You know, you miss a kick and then the special teams is doing whatever they're doing. Agnew's fumbling the ball. Calvin's dropping balls. It was everybody. And I think that was different for us, at least in the other 2 games. Maybe we could say the defense was okay, but it was every facet of the game on Sunday.
It was, and I think it really started out exactly how you wouldn't want it to start. Okay, because you've got a Texans team coming in that's injured, number one. Number 2, that's a roster that is rebuilding, and they have a rookie quarterback. So you felt really good about where you were at from that standpoint, at least those of us looking from the outside. And the offense for the Jaguars has been a little bit clunky. So what you would like to have is, I don't want to say a fast start, but you want to have some success early. And so the first possession that you have, which you get after the Jaguars hold the Texans to a 3-and-out, you have a great matchup opportunity. You got a motion that brings Evan Ingram across, and you get a linebacker on Calvin Ridley. And you're going, oh, here we go.
I'm
right?
sure that's what Trevor was thinking, yeah.
And it's the perfect route combination because it's kind of a speed fade, corner route, whatever you want to call it. And Trevor throws an absolute dime, and it hits Calvin in the hands, and he's not able to catch it. And look, it could have happened to anybody. But the hard part is that when you're struggling on offense, you go into a game, you're looking for something positive to get the snowball in a positive direction. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't happen, but then it provides hope for a Texans team because they turn around on the next possession. They catch the Jaguars in a defensive mistake because you get Tank Dell running down the field for a 46-yard gain, and it gives them 1st and goal inside the 5. So exactly how you wanted things to go early in the ball game, it doesn't happen. You make mistakes, you create negative energy for yourself, and then the Texans get positive energy on the road in a place that they've had great success, and then from there it snowballed in the wrong direction.
And it felt like they were really getting in their own heads at a certain point because it was just mental mistakes, penalties, things that, you don't normally see out of a disciplined team, even on special teams. They're just going for the ball because they see the ball on the ground. When it's like that, is it kind of catching? Is just everybody freaking out? Like, is that a mentality on the sideline, or what kind of happened when all of those things start to go wrong?
Well, I think football players are humans.
Sure.
And so human nature is sometimes when things haven't been going well, you have that attitude where here we go again.
Yep.
Okay, and sometimes that's not the right attitude to have, and you got to fight it. Well, they appeared to fight it and then climb back in the game, but then another mistake would set them back. And so every time you'd have something positive in that game, something negative happened to slow the momentum down. And special teams was guilty. Defense was guilty. The offense continues to be guilty. And until you can make better plays on all 3 phases of the game, I think that you are what you are. But I will say this. I think that the negative performance by the offense, which the offense struggled a little bit with Indianapolis, needed defensive help. Mm-hmm. Definitely struggled against the Kansas City team. You felt great about, okay, we held Kansas City 17. Sure. We should have won that game. And now all of a sudden you have an offense that makes mistakes early in this ball game, and I think that affected the defense a little bit. And you can't let that happen, but it did.
And we've been hanging our hat, or not hanging our hat, but saying we were really impressed with what the defense had been able to do so far. And then, this isn't necessarily a team built on the defense. It built on that offense. And a lot of people had been giving them credit on paper. They look like they're very talented. Doug Pederson talked a little bit post-game about that hype and maybe some of the players listening to what they were hearing.
I think that's real. I do. I think that's real. I've been around this game too long to know that you can't live in the past, or you're gonna fail in the future. And we've just got to focus one day at a time. We got to get better each day, and can't worry about next week or the week after. Can't worry about the London trip coming up. We can't. We just got to focus in on the week at hand, and that part of it starts with me and making sure that the guys are. Hearing that message, loud and clear from me, and I'll make sure that they get that message.
Jeff, is there a little bit of that, looking around the room, hey, we have a bunch of talent here, we should be good, and not necessarily, I'm not saying they're not putting in the work, but just assuming things might be easier than they actually are. Calvin Ridley is new to this offense. He's very talented, but he hasn't played football in a while, and he's new here. So to kind of be going to him as much as they are they forcing that a little bit?
Possibly. Last year, just a kind of overall thought, though, with the offense, and as far as you say, well, we thought we were going to be good.
Yes.
The players sometimes have a tendency to externalize that. That it's the media, they're hyping us. Well, sometimes as players, again, human nature, you think you're pretty good. And sometimes when you think you're pretty good, you don't put the work in. But I will say that this football team worked hard in training camp.
Absolutely.
And one of the hardest working teams. So the work is put in. But transitioning from putting the work in to executing on game day is different. Now you have to understand that this is hard, okay? The guys on the other side get paid too, and they have talent, whether you think they do or you don't, because it would have been easy to fall in the trap against the Texans. Well, this team is just, it's rebuilding. It's got a rookie quarterback. They can't beat us. We're too good. It's the NFL.
It's certainly what we were saying, and we saw different.
Saying every given Sunday.
Yeah.
But as far as the offense and trying to find a rhythm on offense, last year I think one of the trademarks of this Doug Pederson offense was the system. Okay, system. Trevor would find the open guy. And we've seen in the past with Doug Pederson, even when he was in Philadelphia, it wasn't about star individuals. It was about the offense and making sure the quarterback delivered the ball to open guys. And I think anytime you have a Calvin Ridley or a Justin Jefferson or, one of the great receivers in the league that we see occasionally on highlights and sometimes in person, you always feel the need to feed that player because they're great for a reason. And so you should feed that player. But you have to have a balance for that, and it also has to be earned. Calvin Ridley hasn't played football in a long time prior to the first game in Indianapolis. And so I think even he has to earn that respect and to earn that ball coming his way a high percentage of times compared to other people. And was there maybe a little bit of overestimating that maybe? But, the great thing is that, look, this is a long season. We're getting ready to start game number 4 here this week. And you got plenty of time to right your ship because it's not about where you're at week 2 or week 3. It's about trying to find that rhythm and that role that you can get to into the postseason. So there's time. But it's not like there's a luxury of time. I mean, sooner or later you got to start turning the corner and start showing some signs. But I definitely think that there needs to be – I will tell you this, Guy. In that game against Houston, I said in our broadcast, at what point do you think about taking Calvin Ridley out?
Mm-hmm. I thought that might be a possibility because at a certain point we talked about, I know Doug had talked about the whole team pressing, but Calvin feels like he's pressing. He's putting as much pressure on himself and psyching himself out, it seems like at times.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like he gets benched.
Oh, no, certainly not. It's just
even great players.
You're going to get him open by going to other people and then going back to him rather than throwing to him every single time in double coverage. Yes, he is capable of making those catches and making those plays. He's not right now, but maybe don't force it. If he's double covered, somebody else should be open, right?
Well, and sometimes you got to calm his world down.
Absolutely.
And show the players also on the team that, hey, look, The reality is it's a bottom-line business, okay? Productivity is one of the 3 key components of being a good player in this league, and he was not productive in that game, with the false starts, the couple drops, and the one that was early was obviously big. But, I mean, he wasn't the only one that made mistakes. But,
of course not.
At some point you got to start thinking, okay, what's the best thing for our team? And I thought in that game that maybe they were going to just take him out just to let him take a deep breath.
I'm with you. I think that might have been a little more helpful. Kainani Stevens filling in for JP Shadrick here with Jeff Lageman. Jags fans, if you want customized Jaguars furniture for your home, check out zipchair.com to browse all customizable options. ZipChair is furniture for fans. Now, in terms of things with Trevor, he's been throwing some great balls, but we saw a little frustration at the end of the game throwing that pick. He talked post-game on Sunday about wanting to be a little more vocal with his teammates.
We got great players that have proven that they can play and play well in this league, and for some reason right now it's just not all clicking, and we gotta figure that out. And I think leading and just instilling confidence in those guys, but also, like I said, that sense of urgency of it's not all right, we're getting to the point where it's not okay. Like I get it, and I'm gonna miss some throws, and you guys hold me accountable. There's gonna be plays that I want back. There's 3 or 4 today that I want back where I didn't do my job, and I expect the coaches to hold me accountable, and they will. And I'm going to hold the wideouts, the tight ends, the running backs, O-line accountable as well for stuff that, they're not doing the best in their job. So no one can get their feelings hurt, and we don't have guys that do, but we all have to have that accountability. And I think that's the biggest thing, and we all have to lead in that way of taking accountability for what we're doing.
Jeff, Doug had the locker room closed for a good chunk of time after the game against the Texans. I don't know what was said, I can imagine, but is this the point where some of the guys need to be like, all right, guys, let's cut it out. We got to figure this out and do what we need to do.
Yeah, sometimes you need a moment,
Sure.
when you have disappointment and you didn't meet your own expectations, and so sometimes a little bit of quiet time will help. By the way, how about the shirt Trevor's got on there?
I'm not going to lie. I loved that outfit.
Pretty
There's
cool,
matching
right?
shorts as well. I mean, obviously it's not as good when you don't win, but on the way to the game, I was like, oh, we're going to do great today. It's a great fit.
He's styling. It was looking good.
It was good.
Looking good. But sometimes you need time after a game like that to reflect a little bit and let it soak in.
Sure.
Disappointment, allowing it to marinate a little bit after a game is good, and sometimes it's also good from a media availability standpoint. That look, let these guys take a deep breath before they get in front of the camera and maybe say something that they regret, and so that's just part of the deal. But the great thing about this situation is that you've got Doug Pederson at the helm, who I have full confidence in. And this is not his first rodeo.
Certainly not.
We're not talking about a first-year head coach, okay? He has been around the league for a long time, and he's experienced in moments like this. He dealt with it last year. And so I believe that he will turn this team around. How good will they be? I don't know. But I believe that they will be, again, contending for the division title and then be contenders at the end of the season. But they've got work to do.
Yes, they do.
And serious work to do.
And they've run out of that. It's new. It's the beginning of the season excuse. We're now in week 4, and you gotta figure it out at this point. All right, Jaguars Happy Hour brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. Coming up a little bit later on after the break, we're gonna go more into this offense, what they need to figure out going into week 4 against the Falcons. That's coming up next on Jaguars Happy Hour.
Have you noticed? It's raining a lot in our area lately. That means you can give your sprinklers a break and save some money in the process. Lawns only need water up to twice a week, and that can come from rain. So before you run your sprinklers, remember to watch the weather and wait to water. For more information, visit waterlessflorida.com.
Hey, Jags fans, are you tired of roof leaks raining on your parade? Don't worry, Universal Roof and Contracting has got you covered. Their expert team of roofers will get your roof back in the game so you can focus on cheering on the Jags. Locally owned and operated, they've serviced Florida homeowners for over 30 years. Visit universalroof.com to schedule your free estimate today. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 1330747, CBC 1258484.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You expect Jags fans to say, Duval. You expect the Beard Stadium's going to be cold, the dogs will be hot, but what you don't expect is an airport hotel with a renovated, inviting lobby, a cool bar, and crowded restaurant, or 10,000 square feet of space just waiting for your next family or business event. At the Crowne Plaza Jacksonville Airport, you should always expect to be surprised. Book online or call 1-877-2-CROWN. That's 1-877-227-6963.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. It ain't.
I grabbed him actually, coming off the field, and I just reiterated to him that, take a deep breath, stay locked in, stay engaged. I told him he was a big part of our system and the offense, and he's going to have a lot of success. And just wanted to reiterate that confidence in him. Excuse me, and really, and Trevor does a great job of that too, of getting with those guys. And Calvin wants to do so well, so good, so much. He wants to prove, and he doesn't have to. He's a good player, and he doesn't have to do all. Just be Calvin. And so those are the things that we're trying to just get him to do. Just relax, focus on his job and the plays that have his number attached to him.
Welcome back into Jaguars Happy Hour, brought to you by the St. John's River Water Management District. Florida's water, it is worth saving. I'm Kainani Stevens, filling in for JP Shadrick. Jeff Lageman still here with us as we get Happy Hour underway. And that was head coach Doug Pederson talking a little bit. We had touched on Calvin Ridley pressing a little bit, some of those drops, getting in his own head. And we talked a little bit about the offense maybe, involving him, but not always going to him as the #1 target, because he's probably going to be best when he can just kind of run out of nowhere and get himself open. And if you focus elsewhere, that should open him up.
He's a talented player, and look, you got to remember that he had a lot of time away from football.
Yes.
And so getting back into it, look, it's not without missteps, and so I think that he'll be fine, but it will take a little bit of time to get back up to speed. And I think part of this kind of evolution with him in this offense also is finding a comfort zone for everybody. And when you have a new player that has the talent of his stature, I think Press Taylor and Doug Pederson and Trevor, they all got to find a comfort level on when he needs to get the ball and when you need to let the ball go elsewhere. And that's all part of the process. And, the one thing I think I have great respect for is Trevor's ability to lead. And Trevor's smart. He figures things out. The good thing in all this, I think Trevor has been pretty good.
I believe so as well. Specifically when things aren't going great, other than maybe that one interception, he hasn't been making errors.
Yeah, the interception, you're pressing a little bit, and linebacker tracked him pretty good bit as far as staring his guy
down. Yeah.
But, when you're at that point of the ball game, you're trying to force something to happen, make something happen.
Because you need something at that point.
So, yeah, you're
Absolutely.
pressing a little bit. The game before against Kansas City, Trevor was not at his best. But, Trevor overall this year has been pretty good. Got to get the offensive line to play better as well.
That's
running
certainly
game.
part of this.
Yeah, running game showed some good signs, though, in this past game.
If there is a bright spot, I will have to say the running game so far has been looking good. Travis Etienne just looks he's adding to his repertoire a little bit, right? Just I don't know if he feels he can expand his game a little bit differently or if he's just, purely healthy now or whatever it is, but he looks a little bit different.
Yeah, he's the one thing about Travis when he was a first-year player, which was last year, even though it wasn't his rookie year.
Yeah, after the injury,
was he was trying to hit the hole so fast, and a lot of times he didn't have the patience and that allowed the vision and everything else to take over. Now he's having, and they used this term before, speed through the hole, not to the hole. And you're really seeing that, and they were preaching that with him all preseason, and you can see that it's paying off because when he goes through a hole, it's happening. And who benefits from that? First of all, he does. But second of all, the blocking system does because blocks don't have to be held as long when he's rolling through that hole at a high rate of speed. And it was encouraging, even though it's hard to see it sometimes when the team doesn't play well. The first thing you want to do is everything's bad, we're terrible, we have clunky offense, we're not going to be better, Well, wait a minute. The offensive line did better in the run blocking game. The run game was so much better, and that I think took a lot of pressure off of Trevor. And also Etienne was involved in the passing game. So I think if there was a positive in that game and you need something to sink your teeth into, the Jaguars offense got better in that aspect. And I thought they got a little bit better in pass protection as well. Not as a formidable front, okay, in Houston. Okay, and I understand that. And I don't want to take away all the excitement there. But that's what you need to have, is to take steps.
When we look at this offensive line, we've been talking about this ad nauseum, I feel like, at this point, but is it getting better? Is Cam coming back going to help? Because you can shift some things around. Where do you look at how it is right now? Because it's not where it needs to be for this offense to be as successful as we want them to be. It's
a great question. What happens when Cam comes back? And also the question is, what do you do right now?
Yeah, in the meantime.
Walker Little, I think, is playing very well at left tackle. And what's amazing, I think that's like his fifth or sixth start of the regular season at left tackle.
In that
That's
position.
it.
I know.
We forget that. And a lot of people don't realize that. Playing left tackle is hard. There's a lot of studs out there that left tackle's got to block. And he's still a very young player as far as time spent on task. And so that's been impressive, and he's probably been the best offensive lineman so far. The inside guys struggled against Kansas City. They struggled against Indianapolis. Got to remember now, though, okay, there was 95 and 90 and 99. Okay, these three guys, two of them in Indianapolis, one of them with Kansas City, Chris Jones, DeForest Buckner, and then Grover Stewart. Three excellent players there, and they struggled up front, as most teams do a little bit. But they've got to settle down, and I think Barch has got to play better than he did this past game. He struggled a little bit and needs Sheriff to get a little stronger. Anton needs to play better, but he's a rookie. He will. And the question is that if you're not satisfied with where they're at, do you consider doing something else?
And do they?
That's real. I think that's real. And as coaches, I think you have to look at everything. And I'm not saying that you should or you shouldn't do it. But you got a guy in Shatley who started, I think, 12 games last year, who did a really good job. And, oh, by the way, you were thinking about replacing him with Walker Little throughout the season, and you know what? You couldn't because he played that well. Well, he's there, and he's still on your roster. So do you consider playing Shatley? And when I say consider playing him, do you consider playing him at left guard or center?
Center, yeah.
Because he can play both. I think that'll be interesting to see. I think most likely the coaching staff will have a little patience. But as the wins don't stack up, patience starts to wane.
Got to try something new. Absolutely. PRI Productions, the official event production company of the Jaguars, has everything that you need to bring your next idea to life. Visit PRIProductions.com. Jeff, we were talking off air about this. I wanted to bring it up now. Special teams, which I had been heralding for weeks now, they fell apart on Sunday. What was going on with that?
Yeah,
it was a little bit of everybody.
Wasn't their best outing.
It wasn't.
The reality is that special teams so far this year has been a positive.
Absolutely, and probably swung that game for them. Agnew's return against the Colts, probably otherwise they're 0-3 maybe without them.
Yeah,
and and they didn't capitalize on it, but getting the kick return in the red zone against the Chiefs, that should have been a touchdown, that was not. But yeah, I mean, and it was a little bit of, so you bring in McManus because you want a veteran kicker that you can trust. He misses his first kick, and then another one's blocked, which obviously isn't his fault, but it was just when it rains, it pours with them.
Yeah, he had a tough day. And, again, it's not all Brandon McManus' fault. And he had a tough day for multiple reasons. One, because on the blocked field goal, he got involved in the scrum and the scramble for the ball. And then on the kick return for a touchdown, he's trying to run to chase down the fullback / tight end that's making the return.
It's never good when the kicker's trying to make the tackle at the end.
You don't want kickers having to play football. Okay, kickers you want kicking, and that's it. And but a couple misfires by Jaguar special teams. Start with the blocked field goal. All blocked field goals, defense or opponents typically will attack one guy, okay? And you send 3 at one guy. And so you have the guy in the middle and then one guy on each side. The guy in the middle literally goes after one guy right down the middle and tries to punch him in the nose. And then you send a guy on his inside, and then you send a guy on his outside, okay? And the guy down the middle is trying to, punch him in the nose so that he can't block those 2 guys on either side. And the Walker Little was the target. So they went after Walker Little with the guy down the middle. The guy to the inside happened to be Anderson Jr., the 3rd overall pick of the draft for the Texans. And Anton Harrison, who is the tackle right beside Walker Little, kind of lunges forward just a little bit. Well, then when Walker Little gets punched in the nose, and I use that, he gets hit, okay?
Yes.
His right leg kind of loses its placement, and it swings open just a little bit.
Just enough space.
So now you have Anton Harrison just a little bit forward, Walker Little with a little opening of the gate, and then there goes Will Anderson Jr. right through and gets 2 hands to block the kick. And that's unfortunate. It gave the Texans great field position, and it took points off of the board for you. The kickoff return for a touchdown, you had a major faux pas. You had an excellent mortar kick, which is a high hanger, that put the Texans exactly where you wanted them, where they were having confusion of who's going to field the ball, the returner or an up-back. I mean, that's perfect, right? And the ball's floundering around on the ground a little bit. Well, the left side of the Jaguars' coverage kickoff team starts to collapse. And when they start to collapse, they lose a little bit of leverage, okay? And so they all take shots. But you got to remember, they're trying to figure out who's going to pick the ball up, right? So that means that the guys that are coming down the field out of control,
flying by, because the fullback's bracing to get hit, and the 3 guys run right by him.
And the 3 guys weren't sure. When we say 3 guys, okay, it was Daniel Thomas,
Harris, I think,
Harris, who was elevated off of the practice squad, and then the linebacker Caleb Johnson. So those 3 guys. So they all take a shot, and I'm sure they were trying to figure out who's going to pick up the ball. And so now they're coming in out of control, trying to figure out who's picking up the ball. They all miss. Now you got a safety in Trey Herndon, who now is kind of the last layer of defense. He's the safety, okay, on that second layer, and he doesn't do a great job. Okay, his angle's bad, and the fullback outruns him to the boundary, and then it's a foot race, and this fullback, and give him credit now, Andrew Beck did a good job, okay, and actually showed some pretty good speed, and everybody's kind of making fun of him about him being a fullback. I got to give him credit. He was running pretty fast.
He did all right for himself. I mean, it wasn't complete embarrassment. It wasn't like a lineman picked it up and ran it all the way back.
I thought he was better than all right. I thought he was really good. I give him credit now. So, but that was unfortunate, because the Jaguars were starting to get back into that ball game, and then that play happens, and once again, there goes the wind out of your sails or the life getting sucked out of you again.
Just an absolute momentum killer. When you're on special teams like that, is that another human nature thing where the ball's out and everybody kind of just runs towards it, or did people in a discipline thing, or am I reading too much into it?
Well, no, you bring up a great point about a discipline thing, because
you got to stay your spot, right?
You have you have 10 coverage guys on kickoff. Let's ignore the kicker.
Sure.
Kicker's kick, right?
Yes, hopefully not making tackles, yes.
So then you have 10 guys that are running down the field. You have typically 2 safety valves. So now you have 8, okay, that are running down the field. 4 on the left side, 4 on the right side. 2 safeties and a kicker that you don't want to have be involved. So the guys that are on the left side, the 4, they need to make sure that the ball is, as they're running down the field, the ball stays on their right. Because if they miss, there's 4 other guys on the right side that are going to help them. Okay, just like the right side guys, when they go down the field, they want to keep the ball on their left because they know the left side guys are going to be there. Well, when they come down the field, the 3 guys that kind of collapse on the left side, okay, Harris and Daniel Thomas and Caleb Johnson, they all took a shot. And then once they missed, okay, now that whole left side is completely collapsed, and then the middle of the coverage team had actually already started to drift to the right where a return was actually set up to be returned. That was the planned return side of the Texans, which was the other side of the field. So partly self-inflicted, bad angles, and then just flat-out misses.
And just tough timing in the game, too, because then it just
very
the
tough
wind
timing
out of the sail at that point. And then also I think that Tank Dell pass that CJ Stroud had was another one where I think had they gotten it within 10 again after the fact, and then it was...
Oh, the one late?
Yeah, that late one. That was another. That was probably your dagger where you're just like, this is over with.
And that one hurt in a big way because, okay, you're essentially it's a 2-man route. Okay, Texans only have 2 wide receivers out on this particular play, I believe. And you have confusion. There's a bunch formation, a bunch formation for people that don't know. You basically get 3 Texans wide receivers that are standing close together. And the Jaguars are playing man covered. So you need to identify who you got. So, Kai, if me and you are covering the 2 microphones in front of us, I'm going to look at you and say, I got that one.
Okay, I'll take this.
Okay, you got that one.
All right.
Okay, there wasn't any of that communication.
No, they just went
over there on the Jaguars' defensive side of the field. So you ended up having 2 guys, which was Trey Herndon and Darius Williams, covering this Tank Dell guy. Or excuse me, not covering Tank Dell. They
just
both went to a different.
By, yeah.
Yeah, they went to a guy that was in the flat.
Yep.
And then when Tank Dell turned it up, he was all alone. And again, communication. That there is not a physical error. That's a mental error.
Just lapses of not in the
mental
right place.
Error.
Yep. It's tough to combat a mental error, that's for sure. Jaguars Happy Hour is brought to you by the St. John's River Water Management District. Florida's water is worth saving. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about the defense. We've been talking about everybody else. So exactly what's going on with the D and what they need to change going forward. This is Jaguars Happy Hour. We'll be right back.
Have you noticed? It's raining a lot in our area lately. That means you can give your sprinklers a break and save some money in the process. Lawns only need water up to twice a week, and that can come from rain. So before you run your sprinklers, remember to watch the weather and wait to water. For more information, visit waterlessflorida.com. Don't get sacked by a no-name propane rookie this football season, Jacksonville. Draft an all-star and switch to AmeriGas, the official propane provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the homes and businesses who know it was always the Jags. Show off your Duval pride at your next tailgate with a Jaguars grill tank from AmeriGas. To find an AmeriGas exchange location near you or to order a propane fill-up for your home or business, visit AmeriGas.com/Jacksonville-Jaguars or call 844-PRO-JAGS.
Hey Jags fans, Everbank is driven by performance, strength, and security. Start building your legacy today with Everbank's Yield Pledge accounts, all of which deliver a yield in the top 5% of competitive accounts nationwide. Visit everbank.com/Jaguars for your earned advantage. Everbank, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ever wish you could make your Mondays go a little smoother? Here's a pro tip. Order online to dodge the line and kick off your week with free Coffee Mondays. Every Monday through October 30th, Dunkin' Rewards members can get a free medium hot or iced coffee with any purchase. And you get to earn points to spend on even more free Dunkin'. Not a member? Join Dunkin' Rewards on the app and get even more Dunkin' deals. Nothing beats Dunkin' Rewards. Jaguars run on Dunkin'. Limit 1 per member per Monday. Additional charges and terms may apply. Exclusions may apply. Participation may vary. Limited time offer.
It's football season and time to take your game to the next level with a Ford F-150 truck. Light up your tailgate with an available Pro Power onboard generator. And with an available 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine, you can tow just about anything you need to rule the stadium lot. Ford F-150, part of the F-Series lineup that have been the best-selling pickups for 46 straight years. Get to your local Ford store today. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are you ready to elevate your tailgate experience, Jaguars fans? Citrus Distillers, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is excited to announce the 2023 Jaguars Limited Edition Whiskey Bottle. Now available at Total Wine and other participating retailers. Elevate your tailgate experience, Jaguars fans. The 2023 Jaguars Limited Edition Whiskey Bottle. Duval!
We have to do better. We have to do better. Starts up front. Starts with the offensive line on offense. Starts with the defensive line on defense. It starts right there. Again, I'm going to say this again. We need to coach better. We need to play better. We need to execute better. Whether we are reading our press clippings, we need to get out of our own way right now. We need to evaluate ourselves, beginning with me, and we got to figure out how to win a game.
Back here on Jaguars Happy Hour, brought to you by the St. John's River Water Management District. Florida's water is worth saving. Doug Pederson seemed like he was lost for words in that moment after the game. A man who has never lost for words, Brian Sexton, joins us now on the Happy Hour.
Talking is not my problem. Stopping is.
And Doug's usually not lost for words either, Brian. And I think he was just as dumbfounded as we were to a certain degree about all of the mistakes in that game against the Texans and just how bad it got so quickly.
I just stopped writing them down. I mean, I filled up a whole piece of paper. And at one point I said, I don't know that I've ever seen anything like this. I think I stopped when the 255-pound fullback, by the way, do you know this? He is the heaviest person in NFL history to return a kick for a touchdown.
Jeff was just saying he thought he's pretty fast, so.
What was the game,
even
Brian?
more impressive now that he's the biggest guy.
There was a call years ago that Brian called out of defensive linemen. Look at that fat guy run.
Oh, that was Keith Traylor in Chicago. Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah,
it wasn't quite that.
No, well, it kind of was, but it was a fumble recovery, not a kickoff.
I remember it was a. But when you talk about big guys, that came to my head.
I mentioned something about the baby elephant walk. I was trying to be funny. It didn't work. But thanks for reminding me.
I laughed. Yeah, I thought it was funny.
And Wayne laughed too, but I got a lot of help for that. So, yeah.
Oh, goodness. We talked a little bit about this on Jags AM. It was all facets of the game that messed up against the Texans. It wasn't just, the offense again. It was special teams. We touched on that. And then the defense for the first time this season really did not.
This is a new show. I haven't done the show. So Can I just throw my wild theory out and you all?
Let's go.
I think maybe I've said it to both of you. Doug came in to his press conference before the Chiefs game on Wednesday. And Doug is an affable guy. He's got a quick wit to him. He seems to enjoy a little bit of banter. That Wednesday, Jeff, he came in and he gripped both sides of the podium and he didn't really look up and he talked kind of like this. And I said to somebody, something's wrong. And no, you're reading too much into it. I went, just something doesn't feel right. And then they didn't play all that well on offense, which... I mean, I think if we thought that they weren't going to play well against Kansas City, we would have thought it would have been defense, right? Mm-hmm. But the defense plays great in the offense. Where are they? I mean, nowhere to be found. 3 field goals. And then last week, I mean, just the cascading effect of mistake. It just kept going. There's something off about this team, and I can't put my finger on it. And maybe it's confidence, or maybe they just are like a bunch of teenagers who don't know how to get out of their own way, which is a phrase that Doug has used. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But it's tough for me to figure it out.
I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. I think it's pretty simple. and that the players that are out there, when given the opportunity, just need to make the plays that are there. Number one. Number two, don't make the mistakes. I mean, 6 penalties in this ball game, which you had 6, the least penalized team in the league going into that game, and then you equal that total in one game. And then you got to have some energy, and that energy is created from within. And I don't think it's any more complicated than that.
But why can't they? I mean, that's my question. Why? I mean, we all were excited for this team to start the season because we thought, based on last year and what we saw in August, that we would see something. If we're excited about it, what do they know that we don't? Why are they unable to generate that?
Well, sometimes
pressure?
It starts with just one play.
Okay.
And then, now let's make another positive play. You know, I go back to Kai in '96 game. Brian was there for that. And that we were struggling as a football team, and it was not good. And we kind of overcomplicated the situation. Then we just said, all right, look, let's block everything out and let's focus on this game. Let's focus on one play at a time. We just started stacking plays. And all of a sudden we started stacking plays and started ignoring the big picture and started to live in the moment and try to excel in the moment. And then all of a sudden the big picture stuff just started to come together because we were putting play after play together, and then we started winning.
He won't tell you this because he's far too modest, but he was the guy that made the play late in the ball game at the old Memorial Stadium in Baltimore against Vinny Testaverde and the Ravens. He came up with a fumble recovery that gave the Jaguars a chance to tie it and score the 2-point conversion and send the game into overtime. And it started a 7-game winning streak all the way to the AFC Championship game. So you know exactly what you speak of. They were 4-7 that year, Kai, and the coach was under fire. The word on the street really was that the players didn't like Tom Coughlin, didn't like playing for him. They cut Andre Rison. You remember the circus? I mean, it felt like the whole thing was melting down, and they were going to fire Tom, and they were going to move on. And then, as Jeff said, made a play, made another one. The next week in the rain, they come home from Baltimore and Cincinnati and can't do anything but score field goals, but the defense plays well. I mean, it was just, that's what it takes. So who on this team, Jeff, is capable of making that play?
Quarterback.
Okay. Does he has to be him?
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't have to be him. But at the quarterback, and to me, the quarterback, excuse me, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Ridley. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are capable, but the man that's delivering it, has got to be the guy, and I believe he can be the guy.
So last week at one point, Kai, maybe it was after the first touchdown, he came to the sidelines and Doug met him. Do you remember? And Doug said something, and he kind of gestured. Trevor did, and Doug said, "No. Everyone relax. Just make everyone relax." And it seemed like, for the first time, he was relaxed. Have you noticed that about him? The offense wasn't great against the Colts, and then it didn't show up against Kansas City. Do you think Trevor, who has been in the spotlight since he was in middle school, has struggled this year with just calming himself down?
No, I think, this past game, he impressed me.
Okay.
And so... But I think every year is different, and there's always an adjustment when you have a change of components, and even when you return the same components, because everybody's at a little different level.
Yeah.
Whether it's one, even though, let's say, for example, that there was no Calvin Ridley, you still have to develop chemistry for this year with the guys that are out there, Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. You still have to establish that. So every year is different. And every year you have to establish things just from the beginning like they never happened before. And I think Trevor's just in that process. That's all.
If you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150, loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate work, play, everything in between. This truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Kainani Stevens filling in for JP Shadrick. Brian Sexton has joined us, and Jeff Lageman is here as always. We've been ragging on everybody. We should probably spread the wealth a little bit and talk about the defense, because they had been playing better than we thought, but also, where's this pass rush we've been talking about, right? They said they were going to keep with their guys. And
you look at me like I have the answer.
Go ahead, Brian.
You're new here. Tell us.
I don't know where it is. And Jeff, that to me may have been the most maddening part of that game. I mean, that was an offensive line playing without Laramie Tunsil, who didn't even travel. Tyus Howard, the right tackle's on injured reserve. They're playing with a backup left guard. They're playing with a backup center. And the Jaguars got no pressure at all. Were they too stubborn about it? We're going to get there with 4?
No, well, no, I don't think so.
Until the second
because
half when they started sending
I don't
more.
think so because when they ended up trying to bring pressure,
They got burned.
It kind of got backfired in their face a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will say the right tackle that played for the Texans, George Fant,
Yeah.
good football player.
Yeah.
You know,
You're right.
and
He
there
is.
was some backups, and when the guy that was a backup left guard was a former first-round pick.
Yeah, last year.
Okay, but I'm with you. Left tackle was a guy that normally plays left guard. The center's a 6th-round pick rookie. Okay, let's beat him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, Stroud's been sacked 11 times in the first 2
Right,
games.
right.
And hit
it's
19
there
more
to-
times.
He
Yeah.
stays in the pocket. He's not running away from a hit. So
But let me say this though. I think we're in for a long haul with CJ Stroud.
oh, I know.
Let me
He
just
looks
say that.
great.
You
He
know, I
really
mean, but
does.
before we start looking at ourselves and saying, you know, what did we do wrong? Let's give credit where credit is due.
He fully took advantage of those opportunities.
I loved his college film. I said this for all of the draft stuff that we did. That I said he would be my quarterback if I was picking first overall, just because he has so much arm talent.
Yeah.
And you have to defend the entire field. Well, now you add a football IQ that he clearly has and a calmness in the pocket. That's a dangerous combination. And so give him credit. He played outstanding, and his throws are just effortless. I mean,
You said that last weekend. You were right. I watched that.
Effortless.
He says all the right things too. He's going to be a perfect franchise quarterback. I watched some of his availabilities. He's just talking about making his teammates better. Says
Did
all
you
that
watch his
stuff.
press conference last week?
Yes, and
How
then he
impressed were you with the maturity?
I was like, I would want this to be my quarterback. I have
Yes.
nothing against Trevor. I'm just saying, if that was my team, I'd be happy with the choice they made. Also, he was talking. Someone innocently asked him about the Jaguars defense, and he listed off every single starter on the defense by name and number. And
No,
and
he
everything.
gave him numbers.
I know.
And he told him, "You want names?"
He's like, I could do names. Didn't want to brag.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, that was on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, this was not Thursday, or this was not Friday.
Which could
that
be
was a Wednesday.
When you're getting rookie quarterbacks, some of the hardest thing is learning how to study film, and he's already scouted the team.
I've heard he's a football junkie, and he definitely has football IQ. I know there was a lot of criticism about and around him when he was being drafted and all that, and I don't know who came up with that, but that was inaccurate.
You're right. Long haul. I have the same feeling about him that I had. The Jaguars beat Deshaun Watson when they first saw him. Remember, he played the second half of the 2017 opener because they had 10 sacks in that game and knocked the other guy out, the other guy whose name I can't remember. And I had the same
That's a
feeling.
great question. I can't
he was
remember
a
either.
kid from Pitt,
Yes.
Dan something or other, and he was just a fill-in until the rookie was ready, and the rookie was ready in the second half, and Deshaun, then we didn't beat him again, right? I mean, we didn't touch him again until he left and was suspended. So,
But I will say that I never had that feeling with Deshaun Watson. Like
Okay.
watching his college film and then watching him in the pro game went, oh, geez, we got a long decade here of this guy. When I watch CJ Stroud, I go, oh, geez. Which is going to be some incredible battles. Trevor Lawrence versus CJ Stroud.
Sure.
Because right now, I mean, this is a quarterback league. It appears that the Jaguars have a quarterback. Texans now have a quarterback, and the other teams don't.
I like how you say appears. I mean, because you,
Well, we
you
never
still
know.
are waiting. You are still waiting for more evidence.
That's right.
Long playing career, long broadcasting career. You want to see more. What do you want to see more of?
Out of this team or out of CJ Stroud?
No, of this quarterback, of Trevor.
Of our
do you want to
quar-
see
look,
him carry this?
First of all, a quarterback, the great quarterbacks, elevate everybody around them.
Okay.
Everybody.
Which I think he did at the end of last year.
Which they do it in two ways. They do it by their performance.
Right.
And they also do it by their leadership.
Okay.
Okay. In the huddle, in the locker room, setting the tempo off-season wise. Those are what the great ones do. And it appears that Trevor has done some of those things. Okay, but here comes the challenge. And when you're a young player, it's hard to be a leader because, number one, you got to have performance. Okay, and number two, you got to have respect after you have performance. And so Trevor is still in the infancy stages of being a leader. But that's got to grow, and it will grow, and it's starting to grow. You can see that he's more vocal. But there's also got to be some leadership from elsewhere, okay? And he needs help, okay? And I'm not talking coaching-wise because the greatest leadership comes from within, okay? Because if we're all teammates, okay, and Kai, you look at me and say, why aren't you doing this? And I need you to do X. Okay, I hear that a lot better than I do from a coach.
Sure.
Okay, so the greatest leadership is always from within. And I see that with Trevor. And I think that's part of what's missing a little bit, not having Cam Robinson.
Okay.
Cam, even though, look, he's not a top 10 tackle in the league.
Yeah, but he's a top performer.
But he's a leader.
Yeah.
And I think that
Top
also
competitor.
not having some of that hurts a little bit. But I think Trevor's going to be fine, and he's still young, and we're still in the infancy stages of his career.
All right, Jaguars Happy Hour brought to you by the St. John's River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. Brian's going to stick with us. We'll be right back after the break, do the injury report, and get some final thoughts before the Doug Pederson Show.
Have you noticed? It's raining a lot in our area lately. That means you can give your sprinklers a break and save some money in the process. Lawns only need water up to twice a week, and that can come from rain. So before you run your sprinklers, remember to watch the weather and wait to water. For more information, visit waterlessflorida.com.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your Workforce Solutions Reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is #1 among state schools with the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more. Hey Jags fans, stop dreaming of creating your game day fan cave and build the Jaguars den of your dreams with ZipChair. When it comes to maximum comfort, ZipChair.com is the only place for officially licensed Jaguars recliners, sofas, bar stools, office and gaming chairs, all featuring high-quality embroidered Jags logos. Crack open a few cold ones in the comfort of a ZipChair and make your home the place to be on game day. Head over to ZipChair.com and save 20% today. Use code JagsRadio at checkout. ZipChair.com, furniture for fans.
It's football season and time to take your game to the next level with a Ford F-150 truck. Light up your tailgate with an available Pro Power onboard generator. And with an available 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine, you can tow just about anything you need to rule the stadium lot. Ford F-150, part of the F-Series lineup that have been the best-selling pickups for 46 straight years. Get to your local Ford store today. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
We're hanging on too much of last year. Like, that's over. It's a long football season. We have a lot of work to do. That's all we know right now. We're gonna put our head down. We're gonna get to work.
Back here on Jaguars Happy Hour, brought to you by the St. John's River Water Management District. Florida's water is worth saving. Kainani Stevens in here for JP Shadrick. Jeff Lageman, as always. Brian Sexton joining us as well. Quickly going to do the injury report now, presented by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, we're headed to London, but two of the big names, there's some people working through some stuff, but the two names I'm looking at here are going to be Zay Jones, who did not play last week because of his knee injury, and then Devin Lloyd, who hurt his thumb or his hand during the game against the Texans. He missed a good chunk of that game. We saw a lot of Chad Muma. He'll probably be a game-time decision by the time we get to Sunday because they don't know exactly where that's at yet. And Zay as well. Zay's, at some point probably going to play in London, but we don't know if that will be against the Falcons.
I don't know that it's very likely this week, just the sense I'm getting talking to people, but more likely to be he'd be ready to go for Buffalo.
How much did they miss him on offense when he wasn't in there?
That's a great question,
I mean,
Jeff.
I know everything was going wrong, so I don't know if he was going to save the day, but,
he
you
always
have to
seems
imagine.
to be that guy at the sticks that makes that clutch catch that gets things started. I think they miss him. And in fact, let me throw this theory at you.
Mm-hmm.
I think Calvin Ridley might be the problem right now. I think that last year, and I know it was last year, but you had that rhythm with Kirk, Ingram, and Jones, and it was working. And it seems to me like they are forcing it to Calvin. And maybe they would do better to include Calvin in the mix and not make it Calvin's offense.
I think there's something to be said for that.
Get back to what worked.
But I will say this too, that when you have what you believe is a great player, you need to feed a great player. And sometimes you're going to be a little bit more willing to do that.
Okay.
Because you know he's special.
But if you're trying to get back to some efficiency, right? Like, I mean, the third down numbers are abysmal.
Yes.
If you're trying to just – at one point, I looked down and they were 7 of 29 for the season in the third quarter of this game, and I went 7 for 29. Holy hell, that explains a lot. And if you just want to get back to an efficiency where you stay on the field, what if you go back to what really worked well and then, they're paying attention to this, over the top to Calvin. I'm oversimplifying, I know.
Well, I'm going to go back to the Zay Jones thing here just for a minute, because when you look at that wide receiver room, and we always say this is a talented group.
Yeah.
The leader is Zay.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Who's the best double move wide receiver they have?
Zay.
Okay. So do you need him? Yeah. I mean, look, you want, like I was just saying, you want leaders, right? I mean, there's a leader that you didn't have, for this past game on the field. So you want to have him back. Now, what it looks like when he comes back, or what it looks like this week, okay, with Calvin Ridley, there's got to be a comfort level with the quarterback. And when I say that, there's got to be a comfort level that he feels confident and that he's going to make the right decisions and make them quick. And it doesn't necessarily have to be forcing it to one particular individual.
Right.
It can be feeding the ball around. But then in certain situations, calculated risk-wise, you're going to force it to a guy because you believe in him. But right now, I think if I'm Trevor, I'm just thinking out loud here. If I'm Trevor, do I trust Calvin Ridley yet to where I'm going to force the ball?
Sure seems like he does.
I mean, he has, but are you going to trust him this week?
I don't know, at a certain point does it wear out? Because I thought it was going to take a while for them to get on the same page, because I didn't believe that Trevor was going to trust him right out of the gate. But from what I've seen, he goes to him in double coverage whenever he's, and obviously we've seen Calvin do crazy things. He's seen the same thing, but he seems to be going to him more than he's going to, maybe his safety blankets
that's
that
why
he
I asked
normally had.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question. I just, last year it didn't matter. Was it Ingram? Was it Zay? Was it Kirk? He seemed comfortable throwing to all of them. And this year, my perspective, he just doesn't seem as comfortable as he was. I'd like to see them lean back in the direction of Kirk, Zay when he's there, and Ingram, and then take your shot to Calvin until he's comfortable with it.
I think there's something to be said for that. But if I'm Trevor, again, I'm going to say this: if I'm Trevor, I lost a little confidence in Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, the ball was.
So I'm not necessarily going to be willing to force a ball,
right,
as I was before.
And I don't think before he had lost confidence in any of the other guys. I think it was just like Calvin was the shiny new toy, and I think that's kind of why he was going there. But I think you might be right. I think they might shift away. And for what it's worth, I don't want to speak for Calvin, but he seems to me a little bit to be, when he's hot, and right now he's not. So let's wait until he gets himself back into this and then start feeding him
where
the
he
ball.
earns his way back a little bit.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's two guys that if I'm Trevor right now, I'm a little hesitant to throw the ball to. Maybe three.
Yeah.
Okay. Calvin.
Yep.
Probably going to not be as excited to throw the ball his way. Tank Bigsby.
Oh, I wouldn't throw to him again.
Okay. Ball's bounced off of his hands.
Man.
He's not for throwing.
Hey,
just send him down the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jamal.
Jamal. Am I going to throw it to Jamal? He's fumbled a couple times.
3 fumbles in his last 4 games, which, again, I point and go, that just doesn't seem like, he was making plays last year. That's part of the whole off. I can't put my finger on it. What is that? I don't know. But I look at Trevor right now and think, not Trevor, I look at Calvin right now and I think maybe he's a little over anxious. He talked about wanting his name back, so he has something to prove. He's on a 1-year deal essentially, and he wants to get paid like receivers get paid. I wonder if there's a little anxiety there, like I have got to be the star right now, and maybe they don't need to just calm him down a little bit. we all know some people in Atlanta who cover the Falcons, and they said he tends to get that way. He tends to get anxious, and they might need to just calm him down again. I mean, I'm not talking about third down percentage. I'm talking about someone's feelings. It's hard to say that unless he sits here and says, yeah, I'm anxious about it. But you get what I'm saying.
Right. No, I totally get it.
He's been through a lot. It's completely understandable. And he's in a new setting as well. We were just expecting, he'll just be this all-star right out of the gate.
Do you know where he got me? In our first preseason television production meeting before the Dallas game. He was the first one in, and I'm sitting there with Bucky, and he looks at me, he goes, you know how good I am, don't you? And I said, well, I think. He goes, oh, no. I'm really good. And I went, I like this guy, right? I want to see that Calvin, right? Clearly, at this moment, he isn't feeling that. Hopefully, he does at some point in the near future. Because then I think you have that explosive combination that we all thought we would see this year.
All right, Brian, thank you for joining us.
That's it?
That's it for today. Jeff Lageman, Kainani Stevens here. When we return, though, Jaguars Network coverage of the Doug Pederson Show coming up. We're going to talk to Doug before we jet off to London. Thank you for listening in to Jaguars Happy Hour.
Welcome to the Doug Pederson Show. Brought to you by Fresh from Florida. JP Shadrick and former Jaguar Jeff Lageman discuss the latest Jaguars news with the head coach. The Doug Pederson Show starts right now.
Welcome into the Doug Pederson Show. I'm Kainani Stevens, filling in for JP Shadrick, who abandoned us for London early. Jeff Lageman still here, and Doug Pederson, of course. Good to see you, Coach.
Good to see you guys. Thank you.
Coach, are you a last-second packer like me, or did you already have stuff ready to go earlier this week? Because we've been talking about this. There's two strategies, and I am the last-second person.
I'm last second. Last second. I spent about an hour and a half last night late putting my stuff in the bag. Because for us it's different because I get to just kind of wear
True.
Jags gear.
And they pack that for
you.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to pack on this trip, because I don't know what I really need. But no, it was really easy, and it was last minute.
Coach, you're going for 2 games this year, which is a little bit different. I know they have all the operations set for that, but what's the mental kind of that goes into that? And is that kind of like joint practices? How do you look at it?
Well, for us, with the Jaguar organization, we've done this for many years now. And obviously I've been over there about 3 times. And last year we were there. And we do, I tell you what, we've got a great team of people behind the scenes that really put this trip on and really make it easy for us as a football team to get over there. And we have to treat it just like we're here in Jacksonville, on a daily basis. This first game, we get the bulk of our work done, Wednesday, Thursday before we get on the plane. And then we got one day over there Friday and, a little review. We play Sunday. And then the following week, we just keep it as normal as possible. I do want the guys to kind of enjoy their time in London since we're going to be there for about 10 days and get some time to relax. They'll have a day off, after the game. But after that, it's back to work, and coaches will be game planning and try to keep it as normal as I can as if we were here in Jacksonville.
Well, you guys have a great setup over there, and the challenge of this is that the second game, because you're going to be moving from one location to another. Was talking to George down in the equipment room, and they're shipping containers out over there because you're at a different location, and then there was also a shipment that was air shipped over there this week. I mean, it's amazing the logistics that go into this.
Yeah, just to get an NFL football team over there, and for all the teams that go over, I think about Atlanta having to go over, and then of course Buffalo the next week, and of course for us, we spend a lot of time ahead of time. Preparing for this and shipping a lot of equipment and gear and things like that over there, and and like I said, it makes it easy on us. We just kind of show up and sort of plug and play, as they say, and it makes it nice, it makes it easy, it makes it simple, but at the same time, our main goal and focus is to play a football game.
Well, and a big football game coming up against an Atlanta Falcons team that. Did pretty well the first 2 weeks, struggled a little bit offensively against the Detroit Lions, but that's a good football team that offensively they got a really good running back and a really good rushing attack.
They really do, and they're, and that's kind of how they are built and how they operate, right? Is through the run game, and They got an excellent tight end who can beat you, a very athletic guy. And you look at the defensive side of the ball, too. This is a physical, kind of an athletic group. They're an older veteran group, but at the same time, they want to anyway, on film, it looks like they want to impose their will and their physicality, especially with the offensive line. So, we have to be in the right frame of mind. We've talked all week about being a physical game. Defensively, stopping the run and controlling that, because they are controlling the ball for almost 30 minutes, average time of possession. So, and then offensively, we've got to make sure that when we do have the ball that we're doing the most of it. We can't turn it over. We have to score, touchdowns, field goals, things of that nature, and play for 60 minutes.
Doug, mixed results against rookie quarterbacks so far this year. Obviously, Anthony Richardson and then CJ Stroud. I know Desmond Ridder played some last year, but this is kind of his first full season going. What have you seen from him on tape, and what do you expect to see from him on Sunday?
Yeah, it's interesting how many young quarterbacks we're facing here early in the season. And, one of the things that with Atlanta and with Desmond Ridder, they're with all these young quarterbacks, they do a great job as a staff to kind of protect these guys. They're not putting them out there and really exposing them to too much, and really just using their strengths, right? And letting the run game really handle a lot of things for these guys. And then the passing game is a lot of play action, a little movement, high percentage type completions where the ball's coming out of their hands and they're not having to process a lot of information. And he's been doing a good job with that. And you try to get these guys into the third down world where you can create some exotic fronts, you can do some overloads, you can pressure, and try to disguise some coverages and try to, affect their eyes just a little bit. Young quarterbacks tend to, rush things or get through their progressions too fast and the ball comes out. But, I thought CJ Stroud last week did a nice job of that. He handled that extremely well. But again, coaches put him in a position to be successful, and that's what you expect this week as well.
Yeah, watching his film, looks like he holds the ball at times, and so started going back. I did and looked at some of his statistics from college at Cincinnati. It's amazing. The guy ran the ball over 500 times at Cincinnati. I mean, so this is a guy that's capable of running.
He is very capable of running, and that's something that we have to, pay attention to. It's the one position on the field defensively that sometimes you don't account for as a runner is the quarterback, and so we got to make sure that we do a good job there. And of course, as you mentioned, they got a couple of running backs John Robinson, I think, is going to be an excellent running back in this league for a long time, and he's very talented, got some speed, the physicality there. So, it's a full team effort, come Sunday.
On the defensive side of the ball, Atlanta spent some money in the offseason. They, I think, have 7 new starters on defense, something like that this year. Familiar face to Jaguars fans, Calais Campbell, a bunch of other names there. What do you look at defensively? They're doing better than projected from what we've seen so far.
Ryan Nielsen came over from New Orleans, their D coordinator, and he brought a little bit of that, Dennis Allen style of defense over there, and you're seeing that with Atlanta. This is a physical group. Grady Jarrett's one of the more quick twitch as a nose tackle, interior D lineman, quick twitch, fast, a great leader, get off the ball type guy. Bud Dupree and Calais on the outside. These two guys are just a lot of experience right there, and they, Bud can still move, and we know him from playing in Tennessee. And Calais is Calais. He's a team leader. He's got some energy. You see it. And then on the back end, they went out and Bates is back there in a safety position, and Terrell's a corner. Is a guy that has been there, and he's kind of a young veteran guy that really has done some nice things. And this group, one of the things you see on film too is they're a game plan team that is going to scheme you differently than they played the week before, right? So what we saw against Green Bay or Carolina or even Detroit might even be a little bit different against us. It's just the way he handles his game plan. So, we look at everything. We go back and even watch some New Orleans tape, when he was there, and really get a feel for how he's going to try to defend us.
How important is it for you guys on offense to have some positive things happen early in that ball game to snowball in the positive direction?
It's a must. I mean, you go back to last week. We dropped the touchdown pass, early on the opening drive. Then of course we, missed the field goal. So we gave up points right there right away. And those things are game changers. When you go down the field and score on that opening possession, it changes it changes your attitude on the sideline, your demeanor. Defense goes out, and of course defense has been going out and and getting off the field extremely early. But what happened last week is it compounded, right? We missed a touchdown, missed a field goal. They go down and score. Miscommunication in the back end. Those are the things that, we can't let happen. Those are the mistakes and the mental errors that we're trying to clean up right now. And, for us, it's a matter of offensively, we got to take care of the football. Again, we know that Atlanta's a ball control possession type team, and every time we get the ball offensively, again, we got to make sure that we're scoring and doing the things that we need to do. We got to take care of the football. Can't turn it over. And, that's kind of been our Achilles heel, the last 2 weeks. And so those are things that we're working on fixing and going to see, Sunday exactly how that plays out.
Doug, you've coached for a long time. I know after the game last week, there was, just a lot of question marks because the team kind of beating themselves. Does that make it harder to coach them when you know they're good and they're just making silly mistakes, or is it more difficult because you know what they're capable of?
It's a little of both, and I was very, I was really disappointed last week after that game. Probably the most disappointed I've been as a head coach, with a football team, because it was all three phases. It wasn't just the defense or the offense, it was all three phases where it had a hand in that loss last week. And of course, as a head coach, you look at a lot of different things, right? And you try to put a finger on it, but at the same time, you got to realize too, the sun comes up on Monday, and it's not as bad as you think. We're really close in a lot of areas. We're making a lot of silly mistakes, and some of it is obviously very fixable and correctable, and it's really, I keep harping with the guys. It's always going to be about us and what we do, and our preparation, and the things that we put into the week, and work to win. Our mantra is our process. It's our process, from Monday through Saturday right up until game time on Sunday. So, we just got to get back to that, get focused in on that. I think this was an eye-opener for our football team, for a lot of players, obviously, and look for a better performance this weekend.
Hopefully a point to move forward from. Doug, thanks for joining us. We'll see you in London. We'll be right back on the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com. The world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
Hey, Jags fans. Everbank is driven by performance, strength, and security. Start building your legacy today with Everbank's Yield Pledge accounts, all of which deliver a yield in the top 5% of competitive accounts nationwide. Visit everbank.com/Jaguars for your earned advantage. Everbank, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Flight by Yingling. It's the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yingling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass. Raise the bar. Flight by Yingling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yingling and Son Incorporated. Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
Yeah, I think just stay true to the vision. Understand that the vision going to take care of all the work. When you understand where you're going, you know what roads won't take you there. So I think for us, it's just about, keeping the vision in mind and not letting, a loss here, a loss there, take completely off track. Stay disciplined, and it's a simple game. When you do things right, you overcomplicate things when you put yourself in positions that you don't practice, things that we don't coach and then don't communicate. It makes things like yesterday happen.
Welcome back to the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida from the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center. Kainani Stevens in for JP Shadrick. Jeff just got to talk to Doug, and now we're heading to London later on tonight. Did you pack everything already? Are you a late packer, or do you try to pre-pack?
Well, I know we had to pre-pack, so unfortunately, but I'm not a pre-packer for the most part.
So you were Wednesday night, getting everything
I'm
together.
like, okay, it's got to be done. We're checking bags tomorrow, so I'm going to pack my bags tonight. Yeah, I'm not one of those guys. Like my wife, though, she'll pack days in advance.
She's good at that. I'm so bad at it.
I can't do that.
I got to do laundry, and then I'm like throwing everything in last second. I'm stressed. And then I tried to this time leave a little bit of space because I know I'm going to buy stuff probably because we're there for like 10 days now.
Well, and what's very different is in the past, it's been, I think the longest time we were there, one year we flew right to London right after a game on Sunday that was home, and then one year we did it right after a game in Cincinnati. And so the longest time we spent over there has been basically a week. And now you're talking about 2 games, 10 days. So a little different for this football team, different for us, for staff, et cetera, just because you're packing for a little longer, and hopefully there are some facilities where we can wash clothes.
Yeah.
But for the players, they're wearing football stuff for the most part.
Oh, yeah, they're fine.
And they've got a great setup. I will say that of all the years that the Jaguars have been going over since, I think, 2013, maybe it's the first year it was or whatever it was, they have it figured out. Hamza and his staff do an amazing job. And the facility that they have typically stayed at for the last number of years is called the Grove. It's awesome setup. The players literally have great hotel. It's got grounds where the football field is at. They've got a workout room, weight room under a tent, and they can walk out of the hotel literally right to the practice field. And then the food hall and everything is right there. It's a perfect setup. But this year it's a little different. So you have that set up for the first week, and it's your home game against the Atlanta Falcons. But then after that, you go somewhere else.
Yes. I think it's because the home team gets to pick where they go, right? And
yeah, and
a
I
little
don't know
gentleman's
exactly
agreement.
why.
I think the Buffalo Bills wanted the good setup.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why,
week.
but that's a little bit different. And then also 2 games back-to-back will be a little bit different from the player standpoint. But the organization does it first class. The players have every kind of amenity that they need. So it's not like they're going over there and they're roughing it and they're without all the great things that they have here. Obviously, they don't have the Miller Electric Center.
True. Not that.
No, not to that level, but it's good nonetheless.
Have you ever traveled, I don't know if you're playing days, some teams will go to California and they'll stay out there for if they have back-to-back games, or the West Coast, anything did you ever do anything like that for your career? Because I'm curious, trying to stay there for as long as we're going to be there for these 2 games and then come back, what that might be like.
Yeah, the coming back part is
that could be tough because you'll be acclimated to, the 5-hour time difference.
For me, it's always, I've always had an easier time going west than going east. Okay, because when you go west, you just stay up a little bit later, and then you go to bed, and or you can even go to bed a little bit earlier, and you get a little extra sleep. When you go east, you get all discombobulated.
Everything's messed up. Yep.
Because you're going back, and it's tomorrow. Well, wait a minute, it's not tomorrow. It's still tonight.
But
it's tomorrow.
And, yeah.
So it's a little bit different from that aspect of it, but never, as a player, never really had to go to California and stay there for a long period of time, but have gone out to the West Coast many times early, on a Thursday or even on a Friday, with the opportunity to acclimate to a West Coast time, and I hated that. I never liked going out early. I'd rather just fly in, do a game, but London is very different. But it's what's incredible is that over the years they've done sleep studies. They have it down to a science. When I say they have it down to a science, they have it down to a science from a logistical standpoint, getting everything over there that they need to, but then also from a performance football player standpoint. They've done sleep studies, they've done diet studies. What's the best way to have what do you do on the plane? Do you try to sleep the whole way? Do you take a sleeping pill? Do you hydrate? Do you eat? When you get there, okay, what's the best thing to do? And now they got it where they fly through the night Thursday, get as much sleep as you can, and you get there, go right to the practice field, and then let the players get a nap if they need to on Friday afternoon, and then let them have a little bit of free time on Friday night, and then Saturday you get back to work.
Do you alter it when you come back a little bit? What have they done in the past? Is Monday maybe a day off because we fly back right after the game, the second game?
Yeah, and you get back late Sunday night.
Yeah, and then kind of give that a day off instead of what you normally do on Monday.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's easier going west, so it's easier coming back. But at the same token, you still have to be able to recoup because you're talking about spending, 7-8 hours in the air on an airplane. It's never easy traveling, whether you go east or west. I'd rather go, like I said, west. But when you have so much new traveling to London, having a game, changing hotels, another game, which has never been done before, and then traveling back and then getting right back into game mode again, and then a short week after that first game back, it's different. It's different. It'll be a challenge, and that's why you want to make sure that you try to get back to performing well this first week against the Falcons, because if you don't play well this week, there's other challenges that are associated with the next week and then the week after that.
There are other hurdles, but as we said, they've got it down pretty good. It's going to be 10 games now that they played in London, so that'll be pretty impressive, and we'll have 2 in a row this year. So Jags fans, if you want customized Jaguars furniture for your home, check out zipchair.com to browse all customizable options. Zipchair is furniture for fans. All right, we're going to London. Let's talk Falcons when we get back. We're going to preview this week's matchup against Atlanta right here on the Doug Pederson Show on Jaguars Radio.
Greg Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium, because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the west side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, Everbank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
The kick is up. It's good!
Score winning sub deals this Jaguars regular season at Firehouse Subs. Get 2 medium subs for just $10 after any game when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Sign up at firehouseSubs.com/field-goals for Firehouse for offer details and to automatically receive this offer when you use your Firehouse Subs rewards account. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available on the Firehouse Subs app and online ordering.
Visionaries, builders, and doers. Are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand-new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
So Jacksonville, like you just brought it up, they're a team that's going to come in this game desperate, because they got a really good coaching staff and they got a good team. They're talented players. A team that's they've invested in essentially 4 pass catchers, and the quarterback they took number 1 is a good player, and they played well at the end of last season. And we gotta play real well.
Welcome back to the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida. Kainani Stevens here with Jeff Lageman. That was Art Smith, Falcons head coach. They're in a tough spot too. They just had a tough loss to the Detroit Lions, and both of these teams are going to be kind of desperate going into this, needing this win. And never good when both teams are desperate because you don't know what's going to happen. But hopefully the Jaguars are the good kind of desperate where they get back on track and don't just try to play crazy.
Well, this is going to be a challenging game. And Atlanta Falcons came out. Nobody gave them any respect. And then they opened the season up with 2 wins, 2-0. And what's scary about the Atlanta Falcons is that they've got some serious skill position players and a really good offensive line that will challenge the Jaguars defensively. The one position that's a little bit unsettled, which most people are like, that's a big question mark, is Desmond Ridder, the quarterback. But there's no doubting Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas, who they drafted very high. They've got arguably the most talented tight end. Kyle Pitts is a freak.
He always has been, yeah.
Freak, an absolute freak of a tight end. Drake London, excellent player. Offensive line, 2 really good tackles, both of them veteran guys. They've got a highly rated center, arguably one of the best guards in football, and Chris Lidstrom. Know his uncle very well, but this is a challenge this week. And the Jaguars' offense will be challenged as well because the Falcons aren't giving up a lot of points.
They are not, and we're trying to get our offense back on track, so that could be troublesome.
Yeah, and that's why I mean from a challenging standpoint, the Falcons have spent a bunch of money in free agency on the defensive side of the ball, and they got new faces across the board. Calais Campbell.
Our friendly face, yeah.
Which I love Calais. And I think they tried to get him here again in the offseason. I know he visited.
Yep.
And some other guys, Jeff Okudah, who is a high first-round pick for the Detroit Lions cornerback. They signed Jesse Bates III, who is a safety from the Cincinnati Bengals, who's a very good player. Grady Jarrett's been there forever, defensive tackle. He's still really good. Bud Dupree, who used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, most recently with the Tennessee Titans, is there. So they've got some good players on defense. And Terrell, the corner from Clemson. And by the way, there may be more players from Clemson in this game than any other game.
They're going to be well represented abroad.
Ton of Clemson guys in this game, man. Dabo would like
Maybe
to attend this game, I'm
see
sure.
It,
yeah,
if he has some time. You mentioned the defense. I think I looked, and there was maybe at least 7 different starters they have on defense this year compared to last year, and that's a different philosophy than the Jaguars took in terms of standing pat on defense. Pretty much the same.
It is, but it's similar to the Jaguars' approach that they took in 2017 when they went in free agency and signed a bunch of guys, and it paid off for the Jaguars. And right now, it's paying off for the Falcons. I mean, they're top 10 in points allowed, averaging 18 points a game. They're the number 4 rated team in against the pass. I'm giving you some numbers here. Okay, third down efficiency, they're top 10.
I don't think we were doing good before they ended.
So I know, you think about all these. You wanted this offense to go ahead and get better. These are some things. Red zone, they're just out of the top 10, number 11. So there's some challenges this week with this Atlanta Falcons football team. And Arthur Smith is a really good football coach. One of the best offensive minds in football, but I think he's a really good head coach. He hasn't had the results yet in Atlanta, but he also hasn't had the trigger man yet. He's had a lot of quarterback issues. I mean, like from Marcus Mariota last year, which was, I don't want to say a train wreck, but it didn't go very well. And then Desmond Ridder is, the hopeful one. And they're building everything around that quarterback position. I think they're hopeful that Desmond Ridder is the answer, but I don't know if he necessarily is. We'll see. Time will tell.
The second week in a row where the Jaguars are going to be facing off against a quarterback that's been sacked a lot. Desmond Ridder has been sacked a lot. CJ Stroud had been sacked a lot until he faced us. Is this where we see the pass rush step up, hopefully?
Well,
or should I stop calling them out and just start looking elsewhere? Because
what concerns me is twofold. One, the offensive line, Matthews at left tackle, McGarry at right tackle, good players, good guard, good center. This is a good offensive line. They got good skill position players. But the other part is because he's been sacked 12 times, a lot of people say, oh, easy target, he's easy to sack. Desmond Ridder is a mobile quarterback. And if you need any evidence of that, look at his college stats. In college, when he was at Cincinnati, he had over 500 rushes. 500 rushes as a quarterback. Okay. He doesn't have that many in the pros, obviously, because he hasn't been playing that much, but he has mobility. He's not Anthony Richardson, okay, which the Jaguars faced week 1, okay? And he's not CJ Stroud, okay, because Anthony Richardson is a mobile quarterback who's not afraid to run, and he's big and strong, like Cam Newton.
Yep.
Okay, CJ Stroud is a pocket passer.
And he'll sit there.
Desmond Ridder is somewhere in the middle there. So you got to make sure that you've got an awareness that he can run and that he is willing to run because he has a history of running in college. And he's got a young NFL career, so a lot of people are using him. I guarantee you the Jaguars defensive staff, as part of the preparation this week, have went back and watched his college film just to get an idea of what he does.
We're going to get to see it firsthand in a couple of days. Stay with us here on the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
Visionaries, builders, and doers. Are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand-new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
It's football season, and time to take your game to the next level with a Ford F-150 truck. Light up your tailgate with an available Pro Power onboard generator. And with an available 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine, you can tow just about anything you need to rule the stadium lot. Ford F-150, part of the F-Series lineup that have been the best-selling pickups for 46 straight years. Get to your local Ford store today. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
No, even a game like yesterday, and that's the one thing too, where like those guys have been in some, you got some salty vets over there, right? Like that's what you're relying on when you bring, Bud in, David, Calais, Jesse, Caden. The old analogy, it wasn't their first rodeo on the road. Sometimes like that's what the expectation is.
Welcome back into the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida. Kainani Stevens here with Jeff Lageman. That was Art Smith of the Atlanta Falcons. We talked a little bit about this just in the segment before, but all those new names on defense, they are salty vets, as Art called them, and they had a little bit of a tough time with Detroit last week, but before that, they've been looking real good.
Though.
They did. I will say.
On the road?
Yeah, and Detroit, as we've seen, beat the Chiefs. They're not nothing to be messed with either.
Atlanta's offense just struggled mightily. They ended up having, I can't remember how many sacks of Ridder. I think
7.
It was 5, 6, 7, whatever it was, which is why he's now one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league.
Yep.
Aiden Hutchinson, I think, had 2. But this Falcons defense, as Arthur Smith was just talking about, is that's going to be the rock for this football team in Atlanta. And that's why he said they brought in these veteran guys to kind of stabilize that side of the ball. And Calais is a guy that definitely is a perfect kind of example of a guy you want to bring in free agency because he's all about team. He's productive, and he's going to make sure that he brings everybody along with him. Jesse Bates, the safety, he's got 3 interceptions already.
That's wild.
3 games, he's got 3 interceptions. Surprised that Cincinnati let him go, but they had to pay Joe Burrow.
So you gotta find the money somewhere. You gotta go in the couch and find the coins. So.
Well, the Jaguars' offensive line will be challenged. Grady Jarrett has been probably one of the better football players that nobody ever talks about in the National Football League just because Atlanta hasn't been good. And he's been there his whole career, but he's a good football player that's been active. He's a challenge to block. What I'm going to be anxious about is, and I still want to watch more film, where's Bud Dupree at? Bud Dupree was hurt so much when he was in Tennessee. When he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was pretty doggone good. Is he back to form at all? And then a couple other guys, one of them that Lorenzo Carter has been productive, but then Arnold, and I haven't learned how to pronounce his name yet. Okay, second-year player out of Penn State. He wears number 17.
Okay.
Beckety. I'm still trying to figure that out.
They'll give us the pronunciations,
but
thankfully.
they've got some good young players mixed with these veteran guys, and it's going to be a challenge for this Jaguars football team. But, the great thing about playing at Wembley is this has really become a home field advantage.
Which is cool.
When it first started, there was a million jerseys from all teams and all eras of professional football. I mean, you saw Zonka jerseys and Joe Namath jerseys, and you're like, geez, and you'd see so many different teams. They were always represented. Well, over the years, the Jaguars' following has increased, and obviously the more success that this team has, even the bigger that it's going to get. But it really has become a home atmosphere now that the team runs the operations at Wembley, and it's not a league thing. The stadium has a Jaguars feel to it. It has a Jaguars fan feel to it. And it's a tremendous atmosphere, and I love feeling that atmosphere every year. Now, Tottenham I've never been to, and that's going to be totally foreign. Being in a foreign country and you're at an away game, it's going to be different.
A little bit, but we'll be there for the week, so we'll get the lay of the land.
Yeah.
We should be okay. And when you have that advantage, we go there every year, right? It's a little different for us this year with the 2 games, but Atlanta doesn't do that every year. So that you have that little bit of an advantage in that regard. And as we mentioned, Desmond Ridder, I did want to mention, we talked about some of the sacks on him. Smith went over some of those in his availability, and he said 3. So there were 7. He said 3 happened on play action. 1 was we held on, and that was a coverage sack. And then 2 were quick hitters, just bum rushes, and then 1 was Ridder holding on to the ball, he said. So
well, and that's typically a trait of a young quarterback.
Sure, trying to figure things out.
And which was shocking about CJ Stroud this past week, because he didn't hold on to the ball.
You never would have known. You never would have known.
You wouldn't have known that he was a rookie. And Desmond Ridder's not a rookie, but he's still a young quarterback. And young quarterbacks hold on to the ball because they're still trying to go through progressions. When Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were going through their progressions in their heyday, they were already starting the progression before the play was snapped.
Yep.
Okay, they had pre-snap reads and tips, and they figured things out.
They already knew.
And so they were, Tom Brady might have been on his 4th read before the ball was even snapped because he knew. And it was the same thing with Tom Brady. Well, young quarterbacks like Trevor and Desmond Ridder, even more so because he's not as experienced as Trevor, it takes more time. They hold the ball a little bit longer, and so they're going to get sacked more. But, again, the concern for me with this game is Desmond Ridder does have the ability to run. And that concerns me with a Jaguars defensive front that has not been consistent at getting pressure on the quarterback.
They have not been consistent. That is definitely an area that needs to be worked on, among other things, this week in Week 4. So we're going to take a quick break. Coming back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Falcons and Bijan Robinson, who lit the world on fire. Cooled off a little bit last week, but we'll see what we're going to see from him coming up on the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gates frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, Everbank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Are you ready to elevate your tailgate experience, Jaguars fans? Citrus Distillers, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is excited to announce the 2023 Jaguars Limited Edition Whiskey Bottle. Now available at Total Wine and other participating retailers. Elevate your tailgate experience, Jaguars fans. The 2023 Jaguars Limited Edition Whiskey Bottle. Duval!
The kick is up. It's good!
Score winning sub deals this Jaguars regular season at Firehouse Subs. Get 2 medium subs for just $10 after any game when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Sign up at firehousesubs.com/field goals for Firehouse for offer details and to automatically receive this offer when you use your Firehouse Subs rewards account. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available on the Firehouse Subs app and online ordering.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
Here on the Doug Pederson Show, Kainani Stevens with Jeff Lageman and talking Falcons because why not? We got to preview things for this weekend. A lot of, if anyone hadn't followed them too closely, Bijan Robinson was a high pick this year, and he really has lit the world on fire out of Texas. Those first couple of games really lit things up against the Packers. Was held a little bit in check against the Lions because we know that defense. We saw that in training camp and the co-practices. That defense over there is pretty good. And what does he bring to the table? Because as we talk about a young quarterback, it's so helpful to have a running back that can open things up for you.
Well, he's a true bell cow running back.
All right.
What I mean by bell cow, for those that don't know that lingo, he's a guy you can hand it to him 20, 25, 30 times a game, and he can carry the load. And he was that at Texas, and I think he can continue to be that. Now, the running back out of Alabama that ended up getting drafted by the Detroit Lions, I liked him a little bit better just because he was so dynamic in the passing game. But Robinson is a true pounded-out running back, and he's also proven to be a very capable wide receiver. You know, he's got 39 rushes on the year, and he's averaging 5.5 yards a carry, which is impressive. But he's their leading receiver also, which is one of two things.
Slightly problematic because
it's one, he's good.
Yes.
But it also shows that you've got a young quarterback.
Right.
Okay, and the quarterback is dumping it down to the running back because he's not seeing the field to be able to deliver it to other players. But I love Robinson. He's got speed, he's got strength, he's got great vision. And the Jaguars have been pretty good against the run so far this year. But this will be their biggest challenge in stopping the run for two reasons. One, the offensive line that Atlanta has, but then number two, the commitment that they have to it. And then number three, and I wouldn't necessarily rank it as three, is Robinson, the running back, because he's really good.
I was going to say before this game against the Texans, I would have said, oh, the run defense is a strong suit. They shouldn't have too much of an issue, but things kind of fell apart on us in every aspect in that last game. So this is going to be a true test because, as you mentioned, he's multifaceted as well, and there's not always guys coming out of college that are immediately like that. So he is rare in that respect.
No, yeah, he was, he probably could have played in the NFL 3 years ago.
Which is wild.
Just, he's a man. The other thing I think about the Atlanta offense is that, you've got Drake London, who's a tremendous player, and Mac Hollins, another guy who Hodge is also a wide receiver that they have. But when you look at a young quarterback, and it always kind of remains true, you look at who the leading receivers are, and typically it's tight ends and running backs. And that's exactly what it is with the Atlanta Falcons. And they're willing to play that style of football because Arthur Smith knows that, look, they need to play, and the way they're going to play and win football is they're going to play good defense, depend and lean on those veteran guys that they acquired, and then also ball control offense, Don't get sloppy with the ball. Desmond Ridder has done a pretty good job at protecting the ball. He's only got 1 interception, 1 lost fumble. And then be able to run the ball, control the tempo of the game. And they were able to do that 2 out of 3 games. And the Jaguars will have their hands full, again, because that offensive line with Atlanta and a good running attack will make it harder for them to rush the passer, which has been their Achilles heel so far.
And these two teams seem to be in similar situations as well, right? Obviously the Falcons have gotten a little bit better. They had a hiccup against the Lions, but still trying to figure things out. Obviously Trevor's been in the league a little bit longer than Ridder has, but trying to get that identity going, a lot of new faces on defense. And they're in a division that is, last year was deplorable, and now they're looking pretty good other than the Panthers.
Yeah, I think it's still
early.
I'm still going to keep it back into last year's category because
okay.
I think they've got a long way to go. And you can evaluate every division by starting with one position, and that's the quarterback. And you look at all of the quarterbacks that are in that division. You got a rookie, you got a journeyman, you got an unproven young player. It's not happening in that division. And the Jaguars, I think, but I still believe that they have their hands full because, again, Arthur Smith does such a really good job of running this offense the way that's going to give them the best chance to win. He's a good football coach. And there's been a lot of really good football coaches that have never gotten the credit because they've never had the man at quarterback. And Arthur Smith hasn't even had anything coming close to being the man yet. Okay, but he's done a good job of making them competitive, and Jerry Fontenot, their general manager, has done a good job of putting some pieces in place. The Atlanta Falcons are a quarterback away from being a really good football team. And right now, their quarterback is not there, and hopefully he doesn't get there this week.
Yes, hopefully not this week. Coming up, we've talked a lot about the Falcons. After the break, we're going to talk about what the Jaguars need to do to turn things around. We're here on the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
It's football season, and time to take your game to the next level with a Ford F-150 truck. Light up your tailgate with an available Pro Power onboard generator. And with an available 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine, you can tow just about anything you need to rule the stadium lot. Ford F-150, part of the F-Series lineup that have been the best-selling pickups for 46 straight years. Get to your local Ford store today. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Flight by Yingling is the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yingling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass, raise the bar. Flight by Yingling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yingling & Son Incorporated, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Jaguars fans, Everbank is building its future on the partnership and the performance you know and trust. Take advantage of high-yield savings solutions with money market, online savings, CDs, and more. Visit everbank.com/Jaguars today for your financial advantage. Everbank, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Visionaries, builders, and doers, are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand-new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
Back here on the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida. We talked a lot about the Falcons, but the Jaguars have a lot of their own figuring out that they need to do. Doug Pederson was saying in his availability back on Monday, I think someone asked him if this could be a turning point, right? Because after that game, he was almost speechless at points, trying to figure out what went wrong when everything went wrong. And last season, he kind of pointed to that Detroit game that went just about as poorly as could go. And they used that a little bit as a turning point, you know, and turned their season around, made the playoffs, had that crazy comeback. And this will be a marker game, I think, the Texans game, good or bad, Jeff.
Well, I hope so. I hope it is a game that we look at and we look back at and say, okay, that was the game that spurred them on to great things. And it's not going to be easy because you had multiple aspects of your game that were off against the Texans, and you got to fix some things pretty quick. And that's the hard part about the season, is that you don't have a whole lot of time to fix things, and you don't have the ability to have lengthy practices or padded practices to fix things. You're kind of fixing things on the fly. But the great thing is that I believe that you've got a quarterback who is exceptional, and I think that he's going to be able to help this football team in a huge fashion. You've got an excellent head coach who has been there and done that, and I like what they did. And I'm going to go back to this again because I mentioned it earlier. The Jaguars established their physical nature a little bit against the Texans a bit, and that when I say that, we can't forget that they did one good thing in that game. They ran the ball well with ETN. And I think that's going to carry them and give them something to kind of lean on against this Falcons football team. And everything else will come. Evan Ingram's a good football player, okay? Christian Kirk is a good football player. Calvin Ridley is a good football player. When these guys start making the plays that are there, this team is going to be really special. It's not there yet, but I believe they will be there, and the running game is going to be a little bit of a crutch until they can get back to that. And I hope that Trevor continues to protect the ball fairly well, because that is something that if you all of a sudden start turning the ball over on top of what you've had, you're going to have a really hard time.
I'll give Trevor credit as well, because he's looked good, and some of those passes that were not caught are beautiful throws. He hasn't been making a lot of dumb mistakes. You know, sometimes he gets a little excited early on, overthrows some people, or an interception here or there. Hasn't been doing that. He's been making good decisions. Other things have been going wrong as well.
We got to catch the ball.
Yeah.
We got to catch the ball, okay? And last year, the Jaguars had the most drop passes in the league, and I made a note of this at the beginning of the season. It was 25. The year before that, they had 28. I don't know what the number is now. I think it's right around 6.
Are we leading so far as well?
Okay, and that's not where you want to be. You need to kind of
in.
move past that category. Okay, in this past game, Evan had 1 and Calvin had 2. You've got to be better in that category, especially when you have a gimme, okay, when the balls are easier and they're right there. And 3 of those drops in this past game were right there and should have been caught.
All right, one more quick break. We'll be back here on the Doug Pederson Show on Jaguars Radio.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, Everbank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Are you ready to elevate your tailgate experience, Jaguars fans? Citrus Distillers, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is excited to announce the 2023 Jaguars Limited Edition Whiskey Bottle. Now available at Total Wine and other participating retailers. Elevate your tailgate experience, Jaguars fans. The 2023 Jaguars Limited Edition Whiskey Bottle. Duval!
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gates frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
The kick is up. It's good!
Score winning sub deals this Jaguars regular season at Firehouse Subs. Get 2 medium subs for just $10 after any game when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Sign up at firehousesubs.com/field goals for Firehouse for offer details and to automatically receive this offer when you use your Firehouse Subs rewards account. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available on the Firehouse Subs app and online ordering.
Everyone wins when two great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan Nacho Carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
I just think it comes down to each man. Just it's a want to, a will to. Obviously we can. As a staff, you can create it with games and different things. Stunts and stuff. But I'll say it's hard when the ball's out of the quarterback's hand. Fast. So you're on your second step or maybe your third step making a move and the ball's gone. It does affect that a little bit, but we can be better. Just understanding the pass rush, the game plan, that week, and really use that to our advantage, when you can.
Back here on the Doug Pederson Show, presented by Fresh from Florida. That was Doug Pederson talking about the pass rush, and at a certain point, he said as much. You got to man up and make it happen. And I know we talked, Jeff, a little bit about the physicality we saw from the offense finally get the running game going, but for lack of a better phrase, does the defense just need to be more physical?
Well, I think they're doing a really good job of being physical against the run. And then I think that's allowing them the opportunity to rush the passer. And therein lies the challenge this week because of Robinson, who's a good back, and you got a good offensive line. I think this is a bigger challenge than the Jaguars have faced yet this season, because they've given themselves a chance to rush the passer by being pretty stout against the run. Well, here comes the greatest challenge at stopping the run because this is the best running football team that they've faced. So can they continue to be able to stop the run like they did before? Then once they do, can they rush the passer better than they have in the past? And I think that this is going to be a season-long, I don't want to say struggle, but it's going to be a season-long conversation that we may have. Because the old saying, it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes, and that when you get Aaron Donald or you have one of those T.J. Watts, okay, or Nick Bosa's, okay, then all of a sudden your pass rush is pretty good. And right now there's not one of those guys on this football team on the front four. And so you've got to be able to do some things, I think, that are, one, creative, and number two, you just got to stay after it. And when I say stay after it, you've got to have 4 guys that are pinning their ears back, that are in the best position possible, and in order to have a chance. And Josh has to get healthy and to be better for this football team, because right now he's their best pass rusher.
He certainly has the mentality for it, and we know he's had that shoulder injury against the Chiefs, and hopefully if we can get him back to 100%, he's in a contract year, so you think you'd see the best he has.
Well, you can tell that he's not quite at 100%, okay, and that's not a good thing, but it's part of playing in the NFL. Nobody's at full strength. Trayvon needs to take a step. Okay, Trayvon needs to get on the edges of players and become more of a successful pass rusher. He's trying to bully guys, okay? You can do that in college. You can't do that in the National Football League. He's got to get on the edges of offensive linemen and use that power, because that power becomes even greater when there's indecisiveness on the offensive lineman's part when you're on their edges.
All right, Jeff, we're getting on a plane soon. We're going to London. Where's your go-to spot? Is it tourist?
I just follow JP because he's big over there.
And you know what? He left us early, so he gets no credit for today because he just left us to clean everything up for him.
Total pub hound.
That's true. He knows all the spots, and he's already probably at a party right now. He's probably at a pub right now.
Oh, of course he is.
Let's be honest.
JP's big over there.
Closing things down.
I'm looking forward to it, though, because staying in a different place, staying in downtown London this year. Typically, I've stayed with the team. This year, I'm not, which there's some positive and some negative to that. But I'm going to try to take a little bit more of the sights and sound of London in while still enjoying some good football.
I'll be there with you. As for our viewers and listeners, 6:30 a.m. we're going to have the Publix Tailgate Show kicking things off. So up bright and early because kickoff's at 9:30 Florida time. And, of course, we want to thank everybody here. I'm filling in for JP because, as we mentioned, he gets no thank yous. But we will thank everyone else that helped put this show together. Joe Fortunato, Brent Reber, Andrea Curry, Will Pease, Kate Waskey. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you for letting me come and sit down with you. And, of course, we love to take part in all of the fun here. So thanks for listening to the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.